the 19th.
Oh, I didn't mute you guys. You're dangerous. Let me make sure I mute you. I got to mute you so you can't turn yourself on. Here, I don't want you coming on accidentally. You're too dangerous. Okay, we're recording. Oh my goodness. 19th of April. Welcome. I'm Rick DiClemente. This is Astrology Unplugged. Approximately episode number 78. Something like that. We'll have a big party when we get to 100. Okay, there's a big celebration in San Francisco. Okay, I'm getting right to the point here. There's a lot going on. All right. First of all, I would like to thank you, those of you who have been donating to the show through my website, starself.com. I appreciate it. It helps me get through the expenses of providing this free service to you every week. As you know, you can always write to me at rick at starself.com, rick@starself.com, and I often get suggestions, which I did from Deborah would like to see the chart of Mr. Cohen, not Leonard Cohen, but Michael Cohen, and the chart of Mr. Hannity, the most dangerous man in America since the guy at West Point, forget his name, Benedict Arnold. It's Mr. Sean Hannity, very dangerous man. Now, it's really hard to show you charts when you don't have the birth time. That's how much of a big deal it is. I got a woman yesterday, she signed up for a reading. She's going to come to my house. She said she was born in the late afternoon. I said, well, that could be 4, 5, 6, 7. What do you mean? She calls me today. She's born 10:30 in the morning. I said, lady, that could have affected your predictions by 60 years. That's how much that birth time matters. It's a long story, but anyhow, we're going to get to that. First of all, I wanted to bring up another issue that Deborah and I were talking about when we got started, and that's everybody getting all nervous about April 24th. And it's no wonder, because guys like me go out on Facebook and take April 24th with no explanation. Okay, let me explain to you what's happening. It is a big deal. And back in December, when I looked ahead into 2018, it was the only date I saw that stuck out during the year. And the reason why is Pluto's sitting here. Pluto's sitting around 15, 21, around 21 of Capricorn. And anybody's got planets at 21 Capricorn, 20, 15, 16. Anybody's got planets at 21 or so of Cancer, 21 of Aries, 21 of Libra. Pluto's been having its way with those planets. It's an era. It's a long-term era. You look back on it, you see it as a 2, 3, 4-year period. It's a period of excavation. It's a period of sweeping changes. Well, when Mars comes around, Mars is every 2 years. And Mars is right here, sneaking up on Pluto. It's about 3 degrees away now. And on the 24th, 5 days from now, Mars will be 1 degree away from triggering Pluto. So when Pluto goes away, we all go, ooh, we go back to our habits. When Mars comes along, Mars is, where's the beef? Where's the beef? Mars is very stupid, it's very blunt, it's crude, and it wants action. And it makes you even kind of want to start a war when things are kind of delicate. Does this fit anybody you know? So the 24th is very dangerous. Many of us will go by with no problem. Many of us will go by with lots of problems. The people who are going with the Pluto era will have less problems. Pluto eras mean facing your junk, getting your hands dirty, cleaning up your mess, moving into a house that's 100 years old and inheriting all the dirt and renewing it like we're doing. Doing it consciously with courage, with responsibility. Those people won't be hurt too bad. They might have an event. Oftentimes, these planets hit you with a negative event, and it turned rather positive very quickly because you see the breaking has taken place of the thing that was holding you down. Well, the people who aren't doing it, the people who are not following suit with Pluto, are much more likely, or the countries or the institution, if you're not doing what you need to do, Mars likely is going to bring you out something that you don't want. So if you're sitting in a business and you're sitting there with your polite mouth shut, and you know this company needs to go down that road, we need to stop this and go down that road, nobody's doing anything, you sit there with your mouth shut because you want to be paid, you're in trouble. Why are you in trouble? Because you know what you got to do, and eventually it catches up with you. What do you think the it is? It's Mars. So that's why Mars on the 24th is so dangerous. We've had many, many of these periods. I've gone back in time. I've listed the dates. I can give you all the rest of the dates between now and 2024. They happen about every 3 or 4 months. Mars is not the only trigger. Mars is the trigger. And Mars makes you want to pull the trigger. Literally. So the 24th is very dangerous, and so dangerous, in fact, that a week early we bombed Syria. So plutonium is ruled by Pluto. Wars, things having to do with underground, oils, plate tectonics, the underground in all kinds of ways, the drug problems. All these issues are coming to the surface again. And as you've all seen on this show, it's been a pretty good constant, this show. There's a lot of junky stuff going on and a lot of wonderful stuff going on. This big seesaw. So it's going to peak on the 24th, but you don't need to hide because it's going to find you anyway. You can't hide from Pluto because it comes up from inside us. What Pluto's trying to do is get rid of blockages to your evolution. Whether it's you dragging your feet, whether it's your government, whether it's your city. Look at all this talk now coming back up. They're fed up once again up in Flint, Michigan. Poison down in the water. It's like clockwork. The event cannot happen. The event cannot happen unless it's symbolized by a matching planet. It has to. They're one and the same. Don't ask me how, but that's how it is. Now, let's get right to Mr. Michael Cohen's chart. I don't really want to since I don't have a birth time, but I want to show you what kind of a guy we're dealing with. In a lot of ways, he's very similar to Mr. Hannity, who I think very little of. Here's Michael Cohen, and all I know about Mr. Cohen is he's born August 25th of 66 on Long Island. We do not know where his moon is because he's born, and we give a noon birthday to somebody that we don't know their time. We use noon. So during that day of noon on that day, the midway point through that day was noon. The moon was at 2 degrees Capricorn. So there's about a 70% chance that Mr. Cohen, who was a Virgo, has a moon in Capricorn. There's about a 40% chance that the moon hadn't gotten to Capricorn and that the moon is in Sag. Well, it's pretty likely to me, the way you look at him and the way he dresses, the way he acts, that his moon is in Capricorn. Because moon and Capricorn people oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes have difficulty dealing with emotion. But that's not what makes him tick. I mean, he's got the Pluto, Uranus, and Sun, 3 planets in Virgo, so he's very skilled at what he does. But here's the problem, right here. The Mercury, Venus, and Mars in Leo. The man's in love with himself. This is one of the strongest symbols in all of astrology for narcissism. Now, Hannity's got the Venus and Mars in Capricorn, which is narcissistic, but they don't get any more narcissistic than Venus and Mars in Leo, or maybe Venus and Mars in Aries. If you've ever read any of his nasty grams that he uses to chase away Trump's enemies, this man is nasty. This man is very, very dangerous. He loves the hubris. And you can see that the whole chart is a bucket pattern. swinging from Saturn and Pisces. Well, the Saturn is right next to Chiron. The man is going through a Chiron return crisis. Translation, the man has no soul. Translation, the man has no feelings. The man does everything for the buck. But if it were the Virgo planets, he'd be fine. Virgos are nice and honest. But the Leo bends him towards doing it for aggrandizement. So they talk all about how loyal he is to the president and all this stuff. Believe me, he's lining up with the power man. He's getting his kicks too. But what he didn't count on is he didn't count on a Chiron return, which strips you naked and tests you to see how spiritual you really are, really. And the fact that Neptune is sitting here. Neptune's at 15. Look at this. 17, 18, 1. He's going through Neptune opposite these planets. So the big deal with this guy is Neptune's opposing his big Virgo planets. This is why the scandals, especially when Neptune's sitting there making an era out of it, and along comes a full moon or an eclipse. That's the flashlight, okay? The dirty little skeletons in your closet are the planets, but the flashlight are when the eclipses come by and shine their light. They're called the lights. In astrology, the sun and moon are called the lights. Well, let me tell you what, in my case, my opinion, my research, about 100% of the time, if an eclipse hits you and a scandal starts to stir, about 100% of the times it's true. I might say 95, but I think it's more like 100. It just is. The scandal comes out. Well, she didn't do anything, but I'll go find my own money and pay her $130,000 to protect the president that didn't know anything about it and he didn't do anything. Okay, that's how dumb we are. So what Neptune does, in accord to his here, you see, here's the misconception of astrology. This planet out there is going to come get you because you haven't been behaving. That's really called Catholicism. All right? What the reason he's coming down and the reason that I'm not going to look into the eclipse pattern. This is just something for your information. Okay. The reason it is crashing with disgrace, dishonorable discharges, what Neptune does to you, is because his higher self knows that he's straying from his God path. And you can say what you want, and you can raise whatever flag you want. There's only one thing going on in lifetime is you're going back to God, or else you're dragging your feet. And your inner self, his inner self is tired. His inner self is tired of saying, Michael, let's get with it. Michael, let's get with it. Michael, let's get with it. Get off of this path. Michael, let's get with it. It's not listening. The chasm is already there. And one of the last straws Neptune can finally do is bring you to a collapse. Then maybe when you're in bed or you're in asylum for a little while and you're having your breakdown, maybe you'll come clean with what you really need to get clean with. And getting clean is always listening to the quiet voice inside. That's what it always is. There's no other option. You listen to the quiet voice inside, or you put noise around you and you clog your ears. So it looks like the outer world is making the crisis come to him, but his own inner self is doing it. Because believe it or not, we all have an inner self somewhere that's got a true north. We've got one that's got a true north, and you cannot change it. You can put tons of garbage on it, and you can hide it, but it's just there. Okay? That's why it's happening. All right? And the bad astrologers will say, oh, he brought all this crisis to because he got such bad karma. Thinking of bad karma, let's go look at Mr. Mr. Hannity. Boy, does he have the imperfect storm. Whoo! Mr. Hannity, the Capricorn. Stop sharing, share. So that's what's going to continue happening with Mr. Cohen, is more and more crisis. I mean, it's just unbelievable. This is my lawyer who's a lawyer of that lawyer, who's a lawyer of this lawyer, who's a lawyer of that lawyer. That's what's going on now. This is Mr. Hannity. Sun in Capricorn, Venus and Mars in Capricorn, Mercury in Capricorn, Saturn in Capricorn. Moon in Libra. Doesn't he have such a nice smile? Such an all-American kind of guy, right? Pluto is at 10, opposite his north node. What's happening with Mr. Hannity, okay? Pluto's sitting at 17, 18, 19, 21 right now. Pluto has been all through these planets, these 4 planets, since 2008. 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Pluto's been all over these 4 planets. He's been embroiled in this whole little faux pas thing that he's doing on Fox. He's very, very charming, very smooth with the moon in Libra, very smooth. But with a Saturn in Capricorn, when you see these people, when you see in general, I know, Miss Suzanne, you like formulas. When you see people who are love it or leave it, almost every time, love it or leave it, people have strong Cancer, strong Capricorn. It's a Cancer Capricorn trait. In his case, he's got the Venus Mars in Capricorn. He's in love with himself. In love with himself. It's a symbol of, again, Venus. This all comes from Arroyo. Venus and Mars is a symbol of narcissism. And he's become the voice for the right. He's become the right-hand man for the president, chit-chatting all night on the little phone. Then what happened with him? Oh, we find out he's the 3rd client of Mr. Cohen's, magically, secretly. So what's happening to Mr. Mr. Sean Hannity, is the Pluto's on him, and the Pluto's stirring, and you wait and see what happens on the 24th to Mr. Hannity, because the Pluto's all over him, and what the Pluto's trying to do to him, Pluto's not trying to get him to go left or go right, to go Republican, go Democratic. That's not what Pluto does. Pluto's here to make you real. Real. Do you really care? Do you really care? Or is this a bunch of talk on this wonderful network? And you got the big ratings. You get the big ratings. Well, I happen to think he's not real. And I happen to think he's going to take quite a blow on the 24th. It's big enough that it could even end this show. That's how big this is. Okay, unfortunately, I do not have the time to look at anybody's chat messages. I apologize. I have so many notes to go through, and I want to get to the story now. I advise you, if you want me to cover something, send me a message before the program or send a message to everyone. And I asked John. John is very much my assistant in many ways. If John sees one of your chat messages that's really important, he will let me know. And for you people viewing on YouTube, the chat messages do not show to you. All right, I'm going to tell you the St. Louis story again. Now, how many remember this? Maybe some of you have told. I know there are many of you that haven't heard this story, but it's so important that we're going to do it again because it's actually the first chapter and the basis of my next book, this one experience. How many people remember hearing the St. Louis story of the Aries woman who was stuck? Good. All right. I've been unable to find this woman in my charts. I have over 3,000 charts since I moved to Pittsburgh. And I know she's from St. Louis, and I know she's from an Aries, and my software won't let me find somebody by her city. So I'm not going to go looking through 800,000 or so, 800 Aries. Anyhow, I'm reading this Aries woman, and I got an appointment with her on the phone at 1 o'clock. Nice lady. All right. Well, I mess up, and I don't call her till 1:15. And I'm embarrassed, and I apologize to her, and that's my mistake. And we get started, and I feel bad about it, but we get rolling. At 1 o'clock her time, at 1 o'clock on my time, she was expecting an HVAC guy to come fix her furnace. He shows up at 1:15. Oops. So we're both late, same minute. He walks in, goes downstairs, bang, 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 starts working on her furnace. Very quickly, I'm looking through her chart, and I can't remember exactly what it was because I see so many charts, but it was something like Mars was opposite her Saturn, or Mars was square to her Saturn. And in an Aries chart, Mars is the ruler. Mars is your ability to get up and go. That's the way Aries people are. Gotta go, gotta go. Ooh, let's go. Well, she was raised with a chart with Mars opposite Saturn, which means you're driving with your brakes on. Caution, frustration. Mars, Saturn, Mars, it can be conjunction, it can be the square, it can be the opposition. But anyhow, I have to start interviewing her because I'm experienced enough to not just fall for it and say, oh, you're very frustrated and you really can't move very well, can you? I'm not that dumb. I've got too much egg on my face. So I start by saying, when you grew up with your parents, did they slow you down? I asked them. That's how you do it. That's how you get good at this. You ask the client. That's how you learn. Oh, yeah, my parents were really good parents, but they're always cautioning me. Okay, that's the thing you don't do with an Aries. You don't caution an Aries. You don't teach them to think first, jump later. They cannot do it. Well, it's natural for two parents, watch you've got bumps all over your head, to caution you. But they don't understand astrology. And in my books, I've talked the Aries have to leap first, bump their head, and then learn. That's how they are. They're instinctive. They leap first, bump their head, then learn. And most of them have lots of head injuries because of it. But that's how they are. That's their nature. And when I wrote a book, I was the benefactor of most all the different readers who read the book. I really benefited the most because I really learned that other signs are not like me. That's a real big dawning. Because you don't realize how much you're walking around thinking other people are like you. They think like you. They don't. Aries want to go, boom, gone. So anyhow, long talk, and I'm talking to her, and this guy's down the basement, bang, 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 boom, 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 bang, bang, bang. I'm starting to get irritated. Then the dog starts barking. And I'm on a cell phone. I'm trying to read psychically. I got a guy beating downstairs. I got a dog barking. This was the most important moment in my 40 years of astrology, that moment, because I started to get angry. And I went, it's not her. It's not the dog. It's not the plumber. It's her insides screaming. And when I learned that, it put me through a completely new territory astrologically. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And that's why my new book is based on this experience. I touch the sore spot. And as soon as you touch it, the noise comes up. The interruption comes up. The phone line goes dead. The picture goes dead. Somebody interrupts you. They have to go. Because I touched a sore spot. She didn't want me to go there, but she did. But she didn't, but she did. That's normal. I opened up the sore, the mommy and daddy sore. But she would not have called unless she was ready to open the sore. I'm telling you things I know. I don't BS you. If I don't know, I don't tell you. She was ready to look at, but she wasn't, but she was, but she wasn't, but she was. That's normal. Woo, 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 bang, 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 bang. It's going on, it's going on. So I let it go. I said, okay, we had all this noise, all this static, but it's a good sign. She's ready. She's called me. She's connected with me. She wouldn't have found me if she weren't ready. She'd have found somebody else. So she says, well, you know, I let them put out my light all the time, and I just curbed them, all my impulses, my spontaneity. I just threw it away because I wanted to keep them happy, and I was scared. Blah, blah, blah. So she says, well, doggone it, I'm going to turn my fire back on, and I'm not going to do this anymore. And then she would go back and forth. She'd go forward, then she would go back to her safety. She'd go forward, she'd go back to her safety. What prompted the phone call was this woman was working at this level unconsciously for maybe many years until she was ready. And that's how she found me, because she didn't find me. I don't mean anything. She found God's answer. God was ready to talk to her because she was ready to listen. And I just happened to get better and better and better clients every year because I'm getting more and more ready to not listen to Rick, but to listen to this is what God wants me to do. It's what I'll do. So she's starting to get very irritated with herself because she's realizing that she's done this to herself. Can't blame her parents. Parents were, well, you be careful, honey. You watch this. Are you sure this guy's good for you? All this stuff, right? They're not to blame. This is all past life stuff. It's all past life stuff. So I said to the lady, what is this guy doing in your basement? She says, well, I told you he's down there working on the furnace. I said, what is he doing specifically? She said, the pilot light won't stay lit. That's all I needed to hear. From that moment on, it's been 5 years. That's all I listen for. I don't listen for Mars is in the 6th house, the ruler of the 12th house, and here comes this planet. It's not astrological now. This woman was tired of putting out her own light. She came into this lifetime, chose a soul group that would play along with her, with 2 people that were smothering. Chose it at age 50, she would encounter an astrologer, help her work through it. I knew at that moment that she was creating the noise, that guy and myself were the same thing. We were an extension of the noise. I understood it. I started working with her further and further, bang, 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 woof, 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 working with her. I get her to the point where she says, you know what? I'm just tired of this. I've just had it. Forget it. I'm just going to go live my life. Damn it. I'm going to go live my life and see what happens. She was done and she was ready. Dog stops barking. Guy comes upstairs, closes up his toolbox, puts the bill on the table and leaves. That's exactly what's happening. And that spontaneity world, that quantum world, is the world that we're always living in. Always. And we don't notice it. That is what's happening. So I'm in my office one day, and I'm dealing with this young lady who I've been working with, delightful, smart, pretty lady. I've been working with her for many years. I'm in my office, and I'm working on this and working on that, and I've not been able to get anywhere in a certain area. I've done fine in other areas. I get this one area every time with her, and I can't break through, and I finally get the idea, you know what, maybe it's her ego. Maybe she's just uptight about it because she's ego-centered about this thing. And I felt like, well, I've been with you long enough, I could probably bring up something like this. It's a little touchy, right? So I sort of kind of suggested it. Vacuum cleaner turns on outside my door. Outside my door, a lady turns on a vacuum cleaner. That instant, it's vibrating on my door. It ain't the vacuum cleaner. The cleaning lady comes at 7 p.m. and this was 3 in the afternoon. This was her. No one ever dared touch that spot before. It's Always instant. Always. She goes for 3 minutes like this while she's dealing with her pain. Don't want to hear it, do want to hear it, don't want to hear it, do want to hear it. Right? I guess let it be, let it be, let it be. Turns off the vacuum and leaves. She and I sit down to work. We work through what she's now ready to look at as well. I was raised this way with a kind of uppity family. She worked through it. She worked through it. I haven't seen her since. So I'm assuming that she had great progress from there. The vacuum cleaner's got nothing to do with it. A couple months ago, I'm doing a reading for a lady. This is unbelievable. When you break your codependency, when you break your restriction, when you break the log jam, when you break that thing that's holding you from evolving, that's when Mr. Right comes into your life. That's when Mr. Job comes into your life. Not Venus, not Jupiter. It's not a planetary combination. It's when you are ready. So I'm dealing with this lady, and she's telling me this story. She wanted to quit her job. She was telling me a story in the past. She already had her breakthrough. She's referring to the time when she had the breakthrough. She was fed up with her job and she wanted to quit. You wouldn't believe how many people quit and their life just turns into bliss. Their life just goes forward because people put themselves through hell. I need the money. And what about the kids? And what about the 401? And they go back to work and saw. And they struggle and they strain. And everybody blames themselves. She said, I got so bad one day, I decided I'm going downtown, get my box in my office. I'm going to get the hell out. My only problem is I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have anybody to take me downtown. And some guy in some office somewhere hears about this, decides he'll take her down. He can drive around Pittsburgh, drive around while she's getting her box. Okay? She goes downtown with this guy she doesn't know. She goes up there. She hands in her resignation. She comes back to the car. She got the box of stuff. She gets in the car and they look at each other. And of course, they became a couple. A very charming, positive, healthy couple. In that case, it happened before she did it. This is how God works. I hate to use that word. The synchronicity of the universe. This is how it works. You think by chance he just happened to drive her there? It was all set in motion. And these things get set in motion from your intention. From your intention. That's what I do with so many clients. I don't do magic, but I just try to help people understand you don't have to move the big block today, but all you need is the intention. The intention, it will make it work. So I'm sitting here and I'm watching this house go through remodeling for 9 months. 9 months. This place is from the ground up. And one of the carpenters is working in the living room. I asked him, I want a wall, because I can't get around very well. I want a wall on my left-hand side for all my modems and all my papers and all these things, so I don't have to, so I can be like Howard Hughes and have all these things around me and grab them all with tissues. So he builds a wall like I don't want it. I wanted a wall with a bunch of segments so I could put CDs here, papers here, and all that. But he builds a wall with this one great big cavity in it. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this wall now. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I let it go for a while. And I'm reading these books and I'm trying to understand. Stop listening to Rick. He doesn't know anything. He can't drive. Quit asking Rick to drive because he can't drive. There's only one driver. But boy, we fight it, but damn it, what do I do? What am I supposed to do? We can't do anything. That's why every book you read about when you surrender is when it happens. So lately what happens, I'm going through this eye thing and I look up in the internet and the saint for eyes is Saint Lucy. That's one of the words, Lucy for Lucer for light units. So she had a lot to do with eyesight. I think she lost her eyesight for God and she became sainted. So I'm praying, and I also hear a name from the past I used to be into a lot in the old days was St. Michael the Archangel. And in spiritual communities, you hear a lot about Michael the Archangel. He's like the big dude, with the big sword. Michael the Archangel, and I'm thinking, wow, my ex-wife, she gave me a statue once. It was about, oh my God, over 2 feet tall. And where is it? Because I've moved and everything's upstairs in these spare rooms, and it's all just got junk everywhere, boxes, and we're trying to get through everything that we can. And lately, I'm reading a lot about St. Michael. Turn it over to St. Michael. St. Michael will help you. My doctor says the spots aren't going to go away. I said, forget you. Michael's handling this. They are going to go away. The doctor says they're not going to go away. I said, Michael is much more powerful than we are. He's going to get rid of them. Now they're all gone except one. So what did I do yesterday? I find St. Michael. I find the statue of St. Michael, and I bring him down. Look now. Look now what it's done to my wall. That's 2.5 feet tall. Michael's watching. He's looking down on me now. He's taking care of me. So why do I share these stories with you? Well, when we talk, we're only talking to ourselves, right? We've got a good, wonderful group here, and I try to share stories because why do you talk to an astrologer? Why do you watch an astrologer show? Why do you go to an astrologer? I know why you go get readings, because they're woo-woo and they're weird and they're in the future. I'm not like that. You come to me, we're going to deal with the real stuff. You're going to hear the vacuum cleaner. You're going to get somebody making noise in your basement. But you come because you're ready to deal with stuff, or else you don't come. And that's okay. But out of nowhere, Michael has resurrected in my life, and now he fits his spot perfectly, which I didn't even want. And now, the good old guy. Can you guys see that? No, you can't see that. Let's go back to Zoom. Okay, let's go back to Zoom and do share screen. And there's Michael. And that's part of the wall. It's the great big center part that I didn't have any use for. And he's really tall. And I thank him for being there. So I'm being reminded once again, just like you are. So the problem with us guys is we go off and on and off and on, and we keep believing in this stuff called coincidence, So I'm reminded of this book I read a long time ago called The Celestine Prophecy. Have you guys read the book in 1994, 96? The Celestine Prophecy. It's a really poorly written book. It's got wonderful spiritual value. James Redfield is a really, he baked up some story around these nine spiritual principles. He baked up a story where the guy looking for artifacts down in Peru, going through South America, and the story's just really dumb, but the principles are wonderful. And if you want to find the ones I'm about to read to you, go into Google and type the following, because I think they're really important. Type in Celestine Prophecy Main Points. Celestine Prophecy Main Points. I love having them in my show, but it's hard to remember which button to push. Okay, Celestine Prophecy Main Points. Whiteboard. Okay, text. Celestine prophecy main points. And up will come the first hit, a list of the 11. The first book is about 9 points, and he writes about the 10th and then the 11th. And so his producers get on him to keep squeezing money out of him. But the first book is really good. It's about the 9 major spiritual points that he makes. Okay, and I'm going to paraphrase them. This book is all about no coincidence, being synchronous. And he goes through South America with this crew, and every time they get in trouble, he says, stop and raise your consciousness. And they stop and they remember they're part of God, and the bad guys just go right by. And it shows every time he raises his consciousness, things work out. And these remind you of all the times in life when you're worried and you're uptight about something, you let it go and it works out. And when you're letting go, you go, how in the world could this possibly work out? I got to keep worrying about it. And this other party says, no, let it go and it'll work out. And they let it go and it works out. Bad guys go right by. Principle number 1, meaningful coincidences. One way that we know we're evolving, I'm paraphrasing here, you can get this whole list there. You can tell we're evolving because, I wonder what's happened to Mark. John, Mark hasn't been here for a month, and he used to always list all the books that I was looking up. I wonder if I'll have to give him a call, see if he's all right. You can tell we're evolving because we're all having increasing numbers of meaningful coincidences. I don't even have to ask you. I know you're all going through it because we all are. Number 2, historical perspectives. From the church mentality, etc., the answers that we really wanted in the past are now appearing. Number 3, we don't understand it, but we can sense it. Underneath all of us, there is an energy field that is common to all of us. We're sensing this. We hear about quantum mechanics. We hear about holography. We hear about physics and particles sharing, 2 particles being in 2 different places at the same time. We know we're not on Newtonian ground anymore. These are different points he makes. Competition for energy. Boy, if this isn't true, when you read him, one of the first points he makes in the book is everybody's trying to steal your energy. Boy, if that isn't unbelievably true. I didn't want to believe it. You know how people don't do that. In the last 5-10 years I've been watching, people steal your energy left and right. They don't want you to have the attention. They want your energy. They suck off you. How many couples have you seen where one's quiet and the other one's talking all the time, but the quiet one's living off the other one's energy? And psychics can actually see holes in your aura where it's bleeding, being sucked off of. It's definitely true. You have to prove it to yourself to see it. Hello, Melanie. You'll have to read the book. A person's energy is the source. And so that's the beautiful thing. Our source is the energy, and we've got to stop thinking that we're part of God. We're not part of it. We're in a gestalt. We're in a holographic state. We are the source. We are the source and a part. We're the ocean and a drop. Both. That's the new quantum world that we're trying to understand. 7, intuition supplies the answers we need. The answers we need are available to us intuitively. I realized in the last couple of months, any answer you want, just about, any answer you want depends on how clearly you state the question. When you state the question clearly, your answer is there. This was marvelous in this book. I couldn't believe this, and I started testing and it was right. Everybody who crosses your path has a specific statement for you. Everybody whose paths you cross has a specific message for you. He's in a nightclub. He's in a restaurant in this book. And he looks across. Somebody looks at him. He goes over, and the guy whispers something in his ear. Perfect thing he needs to hear at that moment. We have allowed everybody else to dull our senses. How many times do you hear people say, what are you up to? Oh, same stuff, different day. What are you up to? Same stuff, different day. Get away from that. That's not how it is. Get away from that like poison. It's not the same stuff every day. Everything's magical all the time, and it's miraculous. Everybody's got a message for you. Think about it. Next time you meet somebody, next time somebody talks to you about something, not about what you want to hear, just think about what they said and how it happened. It's miraculous. I like this one. Marcia, you can give your husband this one. Good old flip. When people come into our lives at just the right time, with the answers that we need, you should just give them money. I really like that one. How many times an artist, huh, Susan? How many times an artist does something so beautiful and somebody's like feels real generous, gives you $5, you're busting your butt, which raises a point I have. Time for a little pet peeve. I was looking up the, I'm done with that, but I was looking up the Celestine prophecy, and it said on the internet, you go here and get it free. Go here and get the movies for free. You go here and you can bypass TV and you can get automatic TV. What the hell do you think I did for 3 years busting my butt writing my book? I was like paid. We really need to give us some thoughts. And we really do. I'm not talking about making millions, but I think it's a really good idea to give the artist some money, to give the author some money. Look at Susan Avere down there doing wonderful, beautiful artwork. Give them some money. What is money? It helps them support themselves, and vividly you can see, if I support her, she get more time to draw with her brush. So I really got kind of PO'd from that, seeing that, how you can get your own free internet. You can skip the cable companies. People are out there working, and the end of my rant. Okay. All right. We are going to know a lot more about this intuitive spontaneity stuff because May the 7th will be my guest. Is that right? May the 10th? May the 10th. May the 10th. May the 10th will be my guest, Rebecca Bloom. She is a phenomenal tarot reader from Pittsburgh, and I know a lot of pretty good ones. This girl's unbelievable. Okay? This lady. She's really, really talented. And I check it out by checking the charts, and it's in the chart. But she's the one that while she's reading, she's turning over cards and turning over another one. She's not rigid, following some formula. She's just telling you your story. And when you sit down with a tarot reader, that's what's speaking to her, but the moment's speaking. The moment has a quality, just like a baby being born. The moment has a quality, and she knows it and she trusts it, and that's what comes out. And Lori says she's awesome. She's really terrific. She will be with us on the evening of May the 10th, and she and I will interview each other, or I will interview her for an hour, and then I asked her if she could maybe draw one card for each of you, because I know it's tempting when these kind of guests are on, you want to get something for yourself. We'll just let the evening unfold the way it does. Then I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it, but actually on May 3rd, I think on May 3rd, I finally got a hold of Stephen Poplin. Stephen, Poplin. He is this phenomenal regressive hypnotist who now lives in Ames, Iowa. He will be on the show either taped or with you live. And I had a reading 20 years ago with him, which was unbelievable. And a 2-hour regressive hypnosis session. And it took me all that time to find his name. And I luckily talked with my ex-wife, and she had kept old calendars written what we did all these different days. And she went back and found that his name. And Mr. Poplin has been working closely with Michael Newton. Do you know Michael Newton? Michael Newton is like the name in past life therapy. He's the one that wrote the books Destiny of Souls and something else of souls. Michael's got his new book out. I haven't, Stephen has his new book out on Amazon. I want to get that soon. So that's Stephen Poplin, Poplin. He will do readings via Zoom and via Skype. He prefers you live. So he travels a lot through Europe and through the US. You may want to link up with him. He's really worth it. And all I can tell you is I've had a lot of past life readings, and they're as good as the person you're with. And when you're with him, he's like a can opener. He just opens it. I can't even explain things. I could go on for an hour about that reading. Michael is available through his website, which is called transpersonal.us. Transpersonal.us. And it looks like he will be with me on the 3rd of May. So we're in for some excitement in the month of May with the regressive hypnosis and with Rebecca Bloom. One of the things I learned with Stephen when he took me into deep hypnosis was that past lives are not 0 through 72. They're not complete. I went back to a French lifetime when I was in 26. I had no memory of 0 to 25 or 26 on. Past lives are not the way we think, plus they're all going on at the same time. The past, present, future, all the lifetimes are happening at the same time. I went back and I was in a huge citadel floating in the sky. It was made of glass, huge, and all the walls were glass. And I was sitting in a little room, and in walked my parents that were going to be role players in my next life. Anyhow, long story short, after we reviewed, which I call the 12th harmonic, I call the spiritual chart, after we reviewed my spiritual life and we're about to construct and decide upon the exact moment of birth in this life, you decide it's way ahead of time. The souls decide what role they're going to play in what group. I was sitting next to Stephen on my right, and on my left-hand side was this humongous waterfall, roaring waterfall on my left. Stephen is here. And I know I'm about to take another lifetime. I had no idea this would happen. He says, "Are you ready?" I said, "Nope." He said, "Are you ready?" I said, "No." And he shoved me into the water, and upside down I was inside my mother. That's what this guy's like. I guess 9 months later. Okay, a couple more things here, and then we'll turn the page. One thing I want you to know, and you may have seen this through other programs, other episodes, when someone comes into your life who's magical, really good for you, when somebody tells me, Marcia, my good friend, married Flip. She probably knew Flip from high school. But when he came into her life magically, I will ask her, and I will go back into Marcia's chart and see what planets were hitting her during that time, when Marcia met him, or they got reignited. That's what Flip is here to do to her. If you got Neptune on one of your planets and someone comes into your life, they're coming into your life to help you spiritually. If Pluto is on you when they come in, they're either coming to destroy you, or they're coming in to help you realize a much deeper, passionate part of yourself. That's how the planets work. Planets get personified by the people through which they operate. So, I guess the real message tonight, before we turn off our YouTubers, is that we are not what we think we are. We are not what we think we are. We're much more connected, and it's a phenomenal place that we live. I want to tell you one more story, and then we'll get to that part. Then you can all eat. I know this guy who saw something. I'm going to be very curt here about this. I know this guy saw something on TV, and I was sitting next to him. And I want you to keep in mind here, emotion is the story. Emotion is the builder. This guy saw something on TV when I was sitting next to him, and he got up and he screamed. He couldn't stand seeing it anymore. He was just vile, just so angry. I cannot stand seeing this anymore. You hear what the body is hearing? I can't stand seeing this anymore. The body is neutral. The body doesn't have perceptions and attitudes. The next day, he woke up with a detached retina. The body said, well, about all I can do to help you stop working. I don't want to hear that anymore. There goes the ear. Be very careful what you say to yourself. Your body is listening. Almost every client I work with, when their back goes out, when their shoulder goes out, when they're having migraines, whatever it is, I listen and I have compassion, but I go back to what was the story the week before this accident? What was the story? What was going on? Oh, I was getting so much, I just had to shut down. Well, I got MS. Well, I got, you shut down? Yeah, I couldn't handle life, so I just shut my system down. Well, that's a real good way to do it. So I guess what I'm saying all in all tonight is our little incarnation that we're in, we're much more powerful than we think. And we're really making a lot of progress, because even talking about this stuff 10 years ago, they'd think you're nutty. I'm at the point now, I'm so old, I don't care if they think I'm nutty, because I know what I know. Anyhow, I'm anxious to get to your stories. I'm going to say goodbye to the YouTubers. Thank you for joining us. If you would like to join us any week, you can always go here to starself.com/unplugged. Any Thursday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, if you want to join us, just go to starself.com, that's my website, /unplugged, and up will come the links to this show. And you'll be live in front of all the rest of us, getting embarrassed, just like we all do. Good night. Thanks for being with us.